into the PPC, guys. Welcome back, and happy Saturday for those of you guys that are just now joining us in the North American bracket. We had an amazing match between Parallax Gaming and Fatal Ambition earlier on, but now we're back into the North American region of things with Team Prolific versus Team Project.
Yeah, and this is a matchup I've been personally excited to see because Team Prolific, before the season started, when they were but we Yeezy PogChamp down in the Paladins Central Leagues, they were beating Sanguine. They beat them, I think, out of the matches we saw. I think they only played twice, and Yeezy, aka now Prolific, won twice. So we saw kind of consistent victories from them, and Sanguine was a team that was beating Project. So this is where we're going to find out, is Prolific just better than these two teams potentially, or is this going to be some triangle where Project have Yeezy figured out, Prolific have Sanguine figured out, and Sanguine have Project figured out?
Yeah, this is pretty much a tale of two cities right now, seeing who can come out on top at the end of the day. Team Prolific versus Team Project. Once again, if you guys are just joining us for the North American bracket of Paladins Pro Circuit. And I'm really interested to see both of these guys because you got both some recognizable names on both teams, of course. And that means that this will be a banger for sure.
Yeah, definitely excited to see now that we are in the picks and bans. The first map is going to be Frog Isle. So a map with snipers, as you've seen, can kind of have some serious impact. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them potentially in the ban column, as you tend to see on a map like this. But Eevee instead, actually, for Prolific. So again, they're a primarily console team. I know that their roster, off the top of my head, I mean, they have Mwadak, Ratatouille, who is Fiery Impact, is the name that he was in the PCL. That was by something else. Sinkara, who previously called me Kumu, but now rebranded to Sinkara. Bolin Berry and Mwadak that they have. Oh, sorry, Yado Acosta. I said Mwadak twice. I was saying Mwadak because I was thinking this. Mwadak has some internet issues, and he might occasionally be swapping in and out with Penguin. Penguin, we know from HP Office Jet, Penguin being whenever Mwadak has issues, he will come in. So that's kind of a degree of flexibility that a lot of other teams don't necessarily have, when you can just go from this kind of monstrous controller player to Penguin, this crazy flex, pulling out all the blasters, all the flankers, and having to prepare against both of that might be kind of difficult for some teams.
An Eevee focus ban on the side of Team Prolific as Corvus gets banned out on the side of Team Project. We have the Anara present as well on the side of Team Prolific to try and see if they can end their round of bans, and Team Project are going to end things with a Talus.
Focusing on that hit scan potential. I mean, the last time I saw Talus really win on this map, the only time I really remember Talus being dominant on this map was when Simsaloo was playing it.
Yes.
When Talus just came out. I really haven't seen a ton of Talus on this map otherwise, but clearly Project thinks it's enough of a threat. They think it's enough, so get rid of him and give Prolific potentially their own priority pick for the first, and it looks like it's going to be Strix. So, I mean, console players seem to be leaning... I say console, it's controller. Controller players tend to be leaning towards the Strix, sometimes over the Canessa. It does depend on the player, but we're now going to have this kind of consistent backline on their side, going to be great on Frog Island. Project now have to have a draft that can kind of cross the gap, get into them, and actually be able to stop this Strix from free firing.
Yeah, Strix being picked in first, of course, like you said, on Frog Isle. That's to be expected, to see at least one of the two snipers on one team at least, and Team Project are going to lock in Atlas and the original sniper himself, Grover. So that's going to be really interesting, not only from a sustainability perspective, but also make sure that Strix can't peek those angles comfortably with those axes.
For sure, and I do find it kind of weird that their first choices after seeing a Strix picked up were, hey, let's play Poke. Let's play Atlas, Grover, Poke. I mean, yeah, the Atlas is going to help them, I guess, but they need someone else to kind of pair with it. So we'll see what Prolific decide to pair with on their side, and it seems that the shortcut for typing that in does not work, but it looks like Fernando will be the choice for Prolific. So that's their point tank. Have him there, decent into the Atlas, especially if you run Big Shield, because without Deja Vu, Atlas doesn't really have a good answer at all to Fernando while he's shielding, so they're going to have a lot of kind of sustain on this objective for them. And what would the filler there be for them afterwards? Vivian, I've heard people talk about how Vivian can kind of struggle on Frog Isle. Vivian could potentially get overwhelmed by pressure, but I mean, when you start with an Atlas Grover, I mean, how aggressive can Project really get?
Right. I mean, you already have enough aggression on their side. I mean, well, I really should say that it's not necessarily aggression, more so the fact that they have plenty of survivability. They don't really have to push forward at all unless they know that it's actually going to end up in their favor. and Terminus is going to be locked in along with the Kinessa. Terminus on the side of Team Project. That Siphon can play a huge role into Vivian's damage, so I will be a lot more. She has to be a lot more careful with how she places these shots.
Fun. I'm curious. Are you still distracted by Terminus's neck?
Now that you have mentioned it, yes.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure that you didn't forget what we've discussed during the PCML. By the way, for those who don't know, the minor league that is basically ran below PPC happens on Mondays, so you guys should come check it out. Me and Vaughn are there casting it, and I was bringing that up because every time that this is Jithin's draft thing, we use the same thing on Monday, and we continuously just stare at Term's neck in this picture. So definitely pretty distracting. Con to end things for Prolific. I was about to say solo tank, but it's not. I think he'll be great for kind of helping them hold down this ground if they want to go an aggressive DPS to finish things on Project. I don't know if I would. I don't know. Maybe they need something to potentially deal with this COD or maybe hold back. I could see like a Drogo's or something to spit over, but Bomb King will instead be the pick for Project, so that will be, I'm assuming, what we see Frog on. I haven't really seen Rock Monkey play that much BK. So we'll see Frog busting out this Bomb King, kind of playing defensive. Both teams have super defensive comps. They're really saying, all right, Mwadak, can you beat Rock? That's what Prolific are saying, and they're saying the exact other thing on Project's side. So classic Frog Isle, it's going to come down to a sniper duel.
Yeah, and that's going to be absolutely huge. Whichever sniper can get off not only the most shots, but shoot the most freely, if that makes sense, is going to be the deciding factor for this one. And I'm excited to get right on into it as we get taken to a loaded screen, but we'll have the game up and ready for you guys soon enough.
There is no Rock Monkey today. I did not know that Rock Monkey was not going to be playing. It looks like Ancient actually looks like subbing in for them on the side of Team Project. So that's gonna be interesting. That duel might get a little more one-sided. I think Ancient is fantastic. I think Ancient is a great player, but definitely going up to someone who has competed on this world stage, been the world champion before. It's hard to try to compare just directly as we do get into the game now with the names all set up and proper. Looking at this, looks like no Mwadak today, and actually no Sin Cara as well. So Jay Genzi in also for Prolific. So 2 subs for them, but subs that have been playing with them and been scrimming for quite a while here as we take a look at the talents. Nothing too surprising, I would say, across the board, except maybe this not running Deja Vu on the side of Atlas. I know Bunny tends to favor this Temporal Divide, but they're going to run Crush instead. That's the fallback. You can't rewind the Nando behind his shield. Just stun him straight through it instead.
We'll have to see how this plays out, of course, as the match has now started. Everyone's shooting at one another. Temporal Divide goes out to block a lot of the shots on the side of Team Prolific. It seems for right now that everyone's sort of biding their time. Everyone might be low, but they haven't really committed to anything yet. Sniper duel being played out, but once again, nothing too concrete as everyone's finding damage into one another. A nice shot in the con means he has to reconsider his options and almost gets bursted off on the side, but he'll be okay.
This Crush coming in, was Genzi ready? No, it doesn't look like he was, so he falls, and only 3 members of Prolific remaining have to disengage, run away. We'll see how well the Vivian can slow them down without a shield from this Atlas. Actually, wait, Ruby Trap's there, but the Poppy from Frog!
Oh
right
my
over,
goodness!
Catches fire, he sends him flying off the map, and the control for this bomb, we're seeing why this was a retro pick on this map, because Frog just has so much control.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give up your chef hat, Remy. Go ahead and give it to Frog real quick, making sure it's just showing off. He's definitely cooking up some chaos by Danger. Nice poppy bomb from him to send everybody off on the side, or at least everybody that was on the side. Just tosses them right off the map. It's gonna be huge. This cart rolls right around the corner. They're already engaged on the side though, as Khan is trying to put some damage into Frog. He's okay for the most part. Penguin is there with shield up and ready. Ratatouille comes right back around and reminds him who the real chef is. He is cooking up a double kill for his team. Yato is able to at least find another pick, which is absolutely huge for them, and another soon after that. That's going to be a big play for Team Prolific to try and get his own.
I do want to mention really quickly, actually, this is perfect timing because we have a pause. Oh, I can't fix it, though. The Brazilian announcer is still on. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to turn it off, so we're going to be remaining in the BR region, I guess, for the start of this map. A little pause by them. Hero got super aggressive there at the very end, I think. I liked that choice by him. I mean, you're going to go down, just run and buy as much time as you can. Willing to take a little bit of damage there for them, try to trade into them. I like having this Crush Terminus into Vivian. I never realized how much of a hard counter that it was before, but after watching Woodknock play it in their set against Sanguine a little bit earlier, I'm actually super content, I think, with saying that that's enough to deal with a Vivian. If you crush her as soon as her shield goes up, it goes down, everyone can burn her, you can siphon her front over, not give her any of that other sustain, reset, anything that would be up in her build that she wants, Terminus can completely deny. So definitely like the pick as we get right back into the game.
A minute and 45 still remaining as now Team Project are on the back foot from Team Prolific's aggressive push. Great picks as well. Moves right into the back line, onto the Vivian as well, but he's getting shot in the back by the Khan. They have to peel for him as the battle shot will go out. He's going to live for a little bit longer. Shield's still up as it gets broken almost instantly. They do take care of Frog though, but they also trade Penguin out for that. That's a 1-for-1 trade as they're now able to make their way back to the card, or at least have to back up for a little bit longer. The Sentinels are there. The drones already being present. And a minute and 15 still available as Hero actually gets dealt with almost instantly.
Interesting. He's not running the Would-Not build, and he's kind of holding using the crush a little bit too early, kind of letting them get their cooldowns up. He needs to use it to cancel them instead, but great position by Yato here on the Strix. Neither of the snipers are who I expected them to be, but we're still having a pretty decent duel. And look at this aggression from Penguin right now. Running it down, forces the Blossom kind of early. I don't know if Jake Enzi can follow up and finish off this Kinessa.
Neither do I. It seems like he's trying to get in there, but can't. They actually take care of the Kinessa just in time. He makes his way all the way into the back. He has his Immortal and everything ready, has his back to him, but manages to put the shield up just in time as he is there and available. Khan shield is broke as Yato manages to get at least a good last hit onto G-Bun. He plugs in a lot of damage into him, catches him without the rewind, make sure that he can put him in the dirt. King Bomb goes out, not King Bomb, excuse me, Grumpy Bomb goes out and tries to zone him out for a little bit longer, but all they're doing is getting pushed more and more back into their spawn by Team Prolific.
This right now with how much, I don't know how much space they're going to be able to take, as Prolific is just keeping them locked down. They could have an engagement maybe, Project. They could collapse Hero onto the back left and catch them with the crush, but finally moves in. But look, they actually gave them a chance to engage first. This route might be enough, but Ratatouille fiery! He's going to lift, he's just getting pocketed. Shoutouts to Bull and Berry keeping Ratatouille up, and Project never got a chance to leave.
Yep, still alive during the very, very end tail of that fight. Even with the slow-mo, still lives in a very, very good manner. Shoutouts to Ball and Berry for sure, making sure that he keeps his teammates up, alive, and ready to always fight. Pretty good KDs on the side of Team Prolific as well. I mean, everybody's doing pretty well on the side of Team Prolific. Team Project are the ones in the negative, Ancient being the only one that is positive on their team, but at the same time, they are putting up a very good fight and zoning out a lot of people due to the Bomb King. Harder to stand by Danger when you have to worry about being poppy bombed every single second of the match. So that definitely puts a damper on them. Team Project are definitely putting up a fight against Prolific for sure.
Fun, there really is no honor among thieves, is there?
No, there isn't any honor among thieves.
That was made abundantly clear to me listening to Penguin spamming that taunt in right in spawn. I wonder if Team Project could hear that. We'll see right now. Look at this early con ult. Doesn't actually connect on anyone, and Penguin just fine time. All the ults are just countering each other right now, and a team actually has to make an engagement happen.
Yeah, doesn't end up using the Headhunter, but at least able to find the damage on the head to make sure that that target is eventually hunted down. Atlas is there along with the Blossom, but the Dread Serpent is what's going to be huge here. Keeps them all alive and ready for a little bit longer as the Siphon has gone up, trying to peel for his teammate, but Vivian damage is a little bit too much for anyone to handle as they have to back off and retreat. Cuss is brought extremely low. This Penguin is there, gets tossed right off the side. His hero, Ratatouille, is here once again, cooking up some madness with a nice double kill. Looking at more and more targets. That's a triple, as a quad could be made, but Jake Enzi comes right around. That's actually just going to be a quad in the back pocket of Ratatouille on a 16 streak right now, finding so much damage into different targets, and they've got an even better zone going for Team Blue.
And there's really almost no mobility from people holding forward, so they can't really get past them. The only mobility is going to be the speed on shield. Hero tries to make it, but Penguin actually body blocks him, and the step back lets him body block him even more. So I think no way for them to get in right now. See how much they can deny them here on the side potentially. Great Poppy just forces some ability cooldowns, and Frog is doing his best to keep them locked down.
Yeah, trying to make sure that as soon as they crest that area right there, that they have at least a substantial amount of damage, so they can't proceed any more forward than they already are. Cart is rolling though. Everyone's still trying to hold their ground, but Hero gets dealt with almost instantly. They moved in a little bit too much, gets the setback off on Jake Genzi, but they're losing on the side here as Yato Acosta is now making his way in, tries to poppy bomb off the side again, but it's not going to be enough. G-Money's going to go down soon after, so is Frog and Hero once again. Cuss goes down last. That is a minute and 50 seconds remaining with a full-on team wipe and the cart continually rolling forward.
Yato's in a great position right now. Has Yato gone down? I'm going to pull up the KDs just to see. That's the wrong button. Yato has not died yet, so 8-0 right now on this Strix. In a great position here because no one can really get onto him. Again, they don't have any way to cross that gap really from anybody. Both these players kind of just said, hey, whoever pokes better wins. And it looks like right now that's Prolific. Even with the temporal divide, he just isn't willing to take a fight.
Yeah, Ratatouille ends up finding another. Cuss goes down almost instantly. They make their way into the back line. Frog gets dealt with just in time. Booby Trap gets tossed out, and he gets dealt with just as he was about to find his safety in spawn. That is a delayed pentakill, I believe, for Ratatouille as well. Comes right out. Cuss goes right in and gets taken out almost as instantly as he was able to make his way out of spawn. 3-1 for Team Prolific, and 3 Ultimates still online. That Immortal still being up. It's absolutely huge. Almost as big as the 26 kill streak that Ratatouille is on right now.
Yeah, 14-1. He's getting dangerously close to an annihilation, which, I mean, the way I look at it, if I'm Project, I'm thinking, all right, listen, he's destroying us, right? But if we kill him, we get a free ult. Just hope that whoever does it already doesn't have an ult charged. Maybe if Hero kills him with a res and gets a second res, wouldn't that be scary? Definitely possible to happen with how well I would say the Terminus can kind of counter, but we'll see how Project decides to engage here. I think they need to make more happen with the temporal divide, but they really just can't. I feel like they're just not willing to push past it, because what does their comp do when they do? It's all Frog, and he's just trading into shields on both sides.
Already moving their way back into danger once again. Everyone is looking at them. Nice overpower from Penguin as well. Serves him up on a plate for Remy to tear him right through. Another booby trap once again. Finds the last hit directly on the Frog. G-Bunny gets taken out as well, and so does Hero. 39% up and available for Team Project. That percentage lead is going to be dealt with in severity, as Team Prolific are now the ones capping the point. 1 percentage at a time. And already Rezil 3 on Jay Genzi, that makes it a lot harder to try and CC him. Even with the rewinds, King Bomb rolls right on through, trying to move their way directly onto the Fernando, and they do. The shield comes right back up. That Rezil 3 a little bit too strong as Yato Acosta finally goes down. They take care of him. Headhunter is now a factor. They're looking at whoever it is he possibly can. Shoots Vivian in the feet, but is not going to be able to find enough damage. They know that Frog is right there. Tosses him out. Knows he's probably going to die. Manages to get the crush as well. They take care of Frog, and immediately as soon as Jay Genzi moves his way directly on the point, you have 66% to 89. Team Project are making a comeback, and at least are making it quick as they're piling the bodies up one after the other. That's going to be a second point captured for Team Project.
Good for them, but I feel like they actually had a small mistake there. G-Bunny was the one who killed the Vivian. He might have the least impactful ult, and Vivian was a walking free ult at that point. I don't know, maybe it's tough because no one else really had it, but they still had to hold it back. Look at his Fear though, just Hero, he has res. He might spend it, he has 2 minutes, but it looks like he's gonna hold back even with the potential impact.
Exactly. Penguin and Ratatouille are going to find 1 pick apiece. Jay Genzi joins the fray and finds a 3rd for his team. Ratatouille picks up the 4th, and that's going to be enough to at least allow them to push on forward, try and get his own. Frog waiting all the way in the back, though. That's already a pretty good look for him. Yeah, I definitely think they know, because Yato keeps looking back behind him. A rewind was utilized on Fernando, but it's not going to be enough, and he can't jump up, tries to use the transporter, but it wasn't in enough time. 1 minute and 40 seconds still remaining, as you have plenty of time to make it back to the cart, but Team Project, not Team Project, sorry, Team Prolific aren't making any sort of headway to allow Team Project to make their way back to the cart.
Yeah, we'll see. Actually, wait, Frog on the back cap, though. He's doing it. Let's pull back, see who's close enough. Yato actually never really fully committed. Frog should not have left there. Danger. He's now half HP with Yato chasing him down, and the flashbang. Worst case, but they all come back and manage to catch him out. So we'll see how much Project can make out of that. They need to put down the shield. They need to actually damage them, I think. Ancient trading decently well into it, I would say, but need to find another pick and make Frog's back cap sacrifice worth it.
Yeah, 55 seconds still remaining, because Ancient is there, trying to plug in damage where he can. Vivian's taking shots at him, and that leaves him pretty low. Because is there to make sure that he's healed right back up. The rewind from G-Bunny means that he's now topped off with full health as well, as Frog lands a nice bomb and detonates it, blowing up Ratatouille. As now Yato is stuck in a 1v1 with G-Bunny, and oh my goodness, the quick scope into plenty of damage to be able to find G-Bunny is going to be enough to put him in the dirt. That puts a halt on Team Project's more aggressive push They can't make their way past a certain angle now. 20 seconds still remaining with the Dread Serpent in the back pocket as well. Gory gets tossed out. 15 seconds still up and alive. It's plenty of time for them to at least be able to try and make it back as they're holding ground. No one's been forced too far back, so they can make their way back onto site. 5 seconds still remaining as the point is now being contested. They're trying to cause for overtime as G-Bunny gets there, touches, and rewinds. Now the Frog goes down still on the side in danger. That's going to be pretty huge, especially as this is rounding the overtime timer. Man, oh man, that goes down, and now we have a 3-2 scenario for Team Prolific. They are the ones in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, and let's see how much they can keep this car rolling, if that's the metaphor we're going for. If they can't really like engage that hard though. They don't have the tools to do it. They have to catch them as they're aggressive on the other side. Maybe overpower. What I'm thinking mostly, Penguin here, if he can connect that ultimate, have potential to just turn that fight around immediately. For a team that's look at these stats. This does not look like a game that's 3-2. If you told me the Team Project cover the score in the middle, if you told me Team Project had 2 points, I wouldn't believe it. It really looks like they've really struggled, but this is just what happens when you're getting zoned into your spawn the entire time. When you're on attack and the defending team is dominant for their entire defense, this is what your stats are going to look like.
Yeah. 3-2 already for Team Prolific with 4 ultimates up and ready as well. No one's sort of biding their time except for the King Bomb that rolls right on through. They find the pick, or could have found the pick on Fernando. His shield comes up in the nick of time because of the Resilience 3. They don't find the damage they need, and they force out the Immortal as well, but Hero dives directly into the back. They're trying to take care of Ratatouille, but look at the peel! Look at how much they're keeping this man alive, and he's still alive despite all of that. I can't believe that. They committed so much to make sure they took care of the Vivian, and Yato moves all the way into the back with a triple kill as well. Frog is the only member remaining on his team. 24% for Team Prolific, and this could be a point conversion. That is absolutely insane. That was a beautiful peel from Fernando.
Yeah, keeping him alive. Also, Fallen Berry connecting the heals onto him as well, making that matter. Without those heals there, Fernando's peel doesn't really matter. You see, Hero might be able to run it down. Great shield by G-Bunny, perfect timing, but now they have to get in. They have the Resurrect, but they actually, this is perfect. They exiled the Strix out of the fight, but they're not finding anything while that threat isn't there, and Penguin just runs behind them and kills their sniper.
That's already one down as this is now coming down to the wire. Ratatouille finds another. That's Cuss. That's next. And they finally manage to deal with a Vivian, but he throws him right off the side. Frog goes down, and they actually end up getting the stun thanks to the flashback, or the flashback, excuse me. They end up dealing with him as well. The stun from the Damba reload. The snake bite is going to be enough as they don't have. Oh my, are you, bro?
We've seen Yato do it before. I'm gonna lie, I wasn't even freaking out because I have watched Yato do it before. Void gripped on Ice Mines in the back line of the enemy team. He has done it to him, and he's doing it to him again. Clearly Prolific are feeling themselves here moving forward, going up 1-0 against them at the very end.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, coming up from Yeezy, we expected them to perform from how they looked before, and I'm just happy that they're really living up to those expectations.
I am too, man. I mean, that was a very, very banger of a game for the very, very first one. I mean, 4-2, that's how you end things off against not easy names either. I mean, you got Hero, you got Cuss, you got G-Bunny. A lot of these guys were in the PPL last year, and to be able to do that to them with their years of experience behind them, that's a tall feat, and that means that Team Prolific are here to play for sure.
Yeah, now looking at the stats, how the damage kind of ended up rolling out. Cuss actually, more damage than Frog, so tough game for him. A lot of range he had to play into. I think that was just a rough pick for Frog Isle in general. And look at the damage on the side of Prolific. Ratatouille, Fiery Impact from the PCL. 158,000 damage on the Vivian. Yato not far behind at 125k. It's definitely keeping up there. Healing also in favorable, and Barry, so Grover, a character that heals everyone all the time, I mean, even if he's not trying to, get healed by the Damba, focusing on certain pocketed targets.
Yeah, and that's already pretty huge that you mentioned that too, because you wouldn't expect a Grover to be healed. He's got Whirlwind, he's got a lot of things that allow a Death Ball type of composition to pretty much group up around him and live and run people over. But this is not what you would have expected, especially not against the Grover Maldamba matchup. Even though Grover has a lot of heals to be able to be spread out, so does the Grover, so does the Maldamba. All of them have ways of being able to heal each other, but even at the end of the day, you would expect that Grover will be the one that comes out on top of this. But even still, 0, 10, and 10, good assists, a slash down that you would expect for a support to be dove, and especially these slash downs are what you would expect for this entire situation if you lose 4-2, at least in the most part.
Yeah, and I just want to take a look. I'll look at the items. I want to see the resilience. I thought there'd be more resil actually on the side of Project, I feel. But I get why they're stacking it so hard on the side of Prolific. I mean, Roots from Cuss, Stun from Hero, all the CC coming out of Bunny, and Frog just yeeting poppies into the back line the whole time. Right. Definitely something that they had to be looking out for. And they did with those resilience buys. So map 1, I believe, is their first pick. I'm going to assume that was Prolific's choice. So next map should be Project's choice. And we'll see where we're going. It looks like it is going to be Bright Marsh actually next, so we'll get that ready for you. Fawn, what do you feel about Bright? I mean, we know that Prolific, they've shown that they're comfortable on the standard controller DPS. Do you expect Project to kind of change those bands up and maybe look to target those a little bit more?
I mean, we saw it literally last game, or at least I should say last set when we were in the Brazilian region, right? I mean, we can expect people to try and change up their bands if they're trying to target specific people. They want to keep people out of the fight. They want to make sure that people aren't as comfortable as they are on some of these characters. And I think it's even surprising in its own right the fact that Vivian got let through. That's not a mistake that we would typically see happen. And I'm not saying that she's won every single game that she's been in, but I am saying that she does hurt a lot. And big damage numbers means that it doesn't matter who you are, you can't live through most of that. And that was a perfect example of that last game. 158,000 damage against the other DPS. That is insane to bring that out on Frog. To bring it out on Frog Isle, and especially with how often they were diving Vivian. So yeah, I would definitely expect them to at least change up their bands to make sure they aren't as comfortable most of the time.
Yeah, I would definitely change up the bands, see what you can do, and we'll be able to find out headed into the picks and bans for Game 2. Bright Marsh, it is going to be Project on first pick, and we'll see how their bans begin here. Looks like I'm not sure. I would say, yeah, definitely. I want them to target that Vivian, because I wouldn't even call Frog a great Vivian map, and I felt like they had some decent counters, but just not enough. But Atlas, all right. I mean, I haven't seen Prolific play too much Atlas, but they think it's important enough to get rid of. They seem to prioritize it, with Bunny playing it pretty well, so get rid of that, and hopefully for their sake, they can target some of the picks that are going to be strong for Prolific later in this ban phase.
And they make sure that they ban out the Eevee for Frog. That's more so a target ban for those of you who aren't aware either. Frog on Eevee is definitely something you don't want to see, so that's why they're banning out Eevee consistently time and time again. So good for the next ban, though, it'll actually be Talus. They're going to get rid of Talus on the side of Team Project. And that could be pretty huge. I mean, we saw him earlier, 100-0 Tyra, right? No big deal. So, I mean, you know, I think it warrants a ban for sure. But Anar's going to be the last ban, which means we have Rom open, and as well as Corvus and Geno. So we've got some interesting possibilities here on either side.
Yeah, I would definitely expect to see Rom at some point coming out in this draft, but Corvus first pick for Project, so with both pocket healers open, they go for the one that tends to be prioritized in North America, get that movement speed, get that healing, and be able to kind of pair with those strong sustaining characters. So we'll see what the response is going to be from the side of Prolific, so a lot of options up for them from what they might want. But yeah, I would too. Huh? I mean, they give you Vivian, you take Vivian. Controller, no controller, steering wheel, Guitar Hero controller, I don't care.
Right.
Pick Vivian. She'll win you games on maps like this if you know how to play against this dive potentially. And if they take it, I would say probably get rid of the other pocket healer, and they do.
Oh man.
Get rid of that Genos as well, so get some extra damage boost and see what else they can do from there.
It's kind of spooky as well. I mean, you mentioned it before. It doesn't matter what controller you use. You can even use the Nintendo Power Glove if you wanted to, and Vivian would still be just as effective as she has been, whether you're on keyboard or mouse or any type of controller. But that Genos Luminary is going to be really scary, especially to deal with the Vivian, especially off of the performance we just saw him have. Corvus and Androxus are what are going to have on the side of Team Project as well, along with whoever it is they might try and go for. And it is going to be the Rom. I mentioned Rom before. This is one of the times that he was let through, and they are going to capitalize on that on the side of Team Project.
Okay, yeah, I like the Rom paired with it. I think paired with that Rom specifically, the Rom and the Corvus, they're going to have that lifesteal help him live even longer in the back line. But all that really matters is that he goes in and makes space. He just has to go into the back line. He has to live, and that's going to be enough of a distraction for the rest of the team to execute. That's why, even though Rom seems kind of easy to counter in your casuals, yeah, I got a Grover, great, I can root this Rom. Good Roms are just going to run to the back line. They're going to distract, and another good team is going to play off of that space. So if you're wondering why Rom is getting picked, I think that's a pretty succinct description of why.
Along with some of the matches it is that we've seen earlier this week as well. I mean, Rom, like you were saying, draws a lot of eyes to look at him. And because of that, that means that you have to deal with a presence in your back line that is slowly chipping away at your health and practically has almost an infinite amount of ammo. At least that's what it feels like,
Yeah.
right? So you have to respond to him. You don't have an option whether you want to or not. So that's going to be pretty huge for the Team Project to have on that team, especially with the Corvus at their backs as well. Oh, we've seen this one before. We've seen this before.
So if you guys like a draft like this, tune in on Mondays.
Yes.
Because you will see Michael, and Michael will play this draft.
Yep.
And, it will be scary. And this is looking like something that Project might be able to execute on, because they can get real aggressive with this. They can go real deep.
Yeah.
And I want to see what in the world Prolific's answer is going to be to a dive comp like this. And okay,
Tyra.
if you want to hit scan, into it, Tyra is definitely a choice. You have the Mercy Kill, you have the Burn Monster potentially for that realm. Even though again, all that matters is that he gets into your backline, and unless if he can avoid the Void Grip, be far enough away, you can get past and make that work. So here in the second game of the North American branch of the Paladins Pro Circuit, I think both teams have pretty decent drafts that they're probably pretty happy with.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, what do you feel like the Tyra's choice has to be here? Are they going to try and focus a lot on their Vivian? Do they want to go the Hunter's Mark, or is it just too important
it's gonna be Mercy
to have
Kill.
That Burn Monster?
I think it's going to be Mercy Kill,
BR.
personally. I mentioned Burn Monster at the start, but I think a lot of teams are kind of willing to lean into that Mercy Kill just to stay alive under pressure. I'm definitely not... I would be kind of... I wouldn't be shocked to see Burn if they really want to focus on that realm, but Mercy Kill is great for staying alive under pressure, and pressure is literally all that they're going to be bringing from the side of Team Project.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I mean, they do have a Genos on the other side, so maybe Rom will actually be dealt with more effectively. I mean, they can stop him in his tracks. They don't have a lot of CC to stop him unless they have the Genos. But even when you build the resilience, the whole point is that you want the DR on the run, right? You want the DR on the sprint. So that's still going to be on cooldown whether you have the resil to back it up or not. So that could put a huge damper in possibly Hero's playstyle as well. That's what I thought. I thought they would pick that.
You don't see it anymore, though. It's crazy. You don't. And it's because then you play Tyra into dive, but you still don't see it. Y'all don't mind swap. We'll see. I'll hold the screen open just to double check. But I think I get what you're thinking though. If these tanks are running in and you just put a hunting mark on them, it's not as good as it used to be. It's been nerfed. It doesn't grant any more bonus damage. It doesn't have the reduced cooldown. It's just 2 charges, and now it also affects your allies. So not as effective as it was in the past, but still definitely brings that benefit. If he sticks with it, I'm gonna watch him on this. I'm gonna watch him on this rollout because he's rolling out with this. Pull out the build as well for this Hunter's Mark. Max duration, max cooldown, and it's going to be used to just burn down the people trying to dive. But for a DiveCon Project playing this start awful slow.
Yeah, they are playing this really awfully slow, and G-Bunny moves in at the wrong time. They focus things at a bad angle. Hero already ate so much damage, and towards the tail end of that, sure, they find one, but the rest of them are dead. They can't really do much of anything either. The Hunter's Mark goes out once again, and now you've got more and more control over the point.
All right, I'm sold. You got me. I watching that, what in the world? Shredding through the sides of them. You thought you might need extra damage, but it looked like Project, they had one target focused down, but the damage was just there in spades for Team Prolific. They couldn't finish off a single kill. Might be able to kill Penguin here, but caught in the backline. Finally, the space taken by Project, but they need to avoid trading lives.
That's exactly why I thought they would end up taking the Hunter's Mark too. Every time Hero even gets looked at, he gets burnt so heavily. Vivian is tearing him apart the minute they put that Hunter's Mark on him. G-Bunny's all the way in the back, but he gets dealt with too. Every time they try and force him on a dive, they just get ripped apart, and here they are again. On the percentage with 72%, they're getting run down. They said, no, that's not what your composition does. That's what our comp is going to do. They're tearing them apart one after the next, as Team Prolific have an even better zone and a good hold on the objective.
Oh, because with Genzi respawning, they just have Vivian capping, because they're like, yeah, she's going to live through the dive. Rip on Hero, but he made the room. Can they even follow up? Will Frog live? You know, Frog will get away. They trade out for Ratatouille, but Hero finds 2, actually, so great for Project to initiate.
Yeah, that's going to be a good change of pace for them, as they've been the ones on the back foot the whole time. Now they put the shoe on the other foot. Team Prolific have to respect it as through time and space goes in, but actually doesn't find a mark at all. Now Rock Monkey's pushing up a little bit more aggressive. He has the accursed arm, so I can imagine him trying to utilize that as best as he can. They move to the back. Exactly, that's what they're going to end up doing. They take care of one, but they trade out Rock Monkey for it. That's going to be pretty big. They have to back off. Corvus using his ultimate to see if he can try and get some damage onto the point, but the Immortal comes out as well. They're killing more in the back. They're going to use the King Bomb to come right on in, and Hero has no run to get out, but uses the ultimate to try and counter that King Bomb. That's going to be absolutely huge, and they still find the kill to be able to capitalize on.
You managed to get the trade, and right now, look at this. Rock Monkey trying to live on the point, but I mean, what do you do against a Vivian? What do you do against a Vivian? You're dashing around. You can't go for the headshots. You have to shoot the feet. Can't do enough damage. If he has Scapegoat in the build, which I can check really quickly. No Scapegoat, but still, not getting those headshots really kind of scales those fights in favor of that Vivian. And a Project have to set up and find an opening for this dive. Find a target they can really burn down. There's only really one they can find, and we'll see how Hero decides to initiate this. Goes in behind them. He's making space. Everyone's looking at him. They just have to follow up, and he forces out the cross.
Oh, he gets burnt out so quickly, though. And with Tyra not there, and not even Fernando, they take care of G-Bunny. But they actually manage to win the trade overall. Rock Monkey is there, puts on the reversal. Corvus does have the healing to make sure that his teammates are alive. And he is providing enough of it. We have a minute and 50 seconds still remaining as they take care of Cuss as well. Frog is there. Then tossing out as many shots as he can. Hero tries to run out, but he eats too much damage.
The Hunter's Mark is a perfect counter for it. I mean, I was doubting it. Straight up, good stuff, Vaughn, because I was doubting it at first. I thought that the aggression was going to be too much. But Project don't seem like they're really syncing up as well as Michael do in the PCML. Moving together with those tanks to collapse on the same target. It makes that Vivian look like she folds like paper mache, but they just don't have it. Look how much more forward Hero is than everyone else. They get a trade, but that's because it was on the back of a spike.
They're trying to force as much as they can, but the Accursed Arm goes out, but it just eats. The Accursed Arm just takes all the damage from the Vivian shield. Like, it just gets burnt down, and Vivian's still chilling. She's vibing in the backline, firing the whole time, and that's a triple kill already for Team Prolific, excuse me, as they void grip Hero right out of his run. My goodness, what a very clinical fight, if anything, and very, very well played by Team Prolific once again. I'm kind of loving this. I love seeing these people that are sort of newer to the scene. We've seen some of them before, but even still coming out and making sure that they can fight against the best of them. All three of the damage dealers on Team Prolific are topping the damage charts right now.
I mean, it's awesome to see, I think. Yeezy specifically, or Prolific specifically, because, I mean, they were playing against... They were losing to Squid Squad, another team that's kind of that was being formed and reformed down in the amateur games, and they've come up and they were beating Sanguine in the amateur scene, like we mentioned before. Now they're looking like they're dominant against Project at the moment. Project, I don't know if they were ready for what Prolific's bringing out. They bust out this dive comp, but I don't know how much time they've had to practice it. But at the very least, moving it together now is Project. They're organized. They're playing off this Hexafire, and so much space is getting made, but they just lose G-Bunny.
They still trade out 2 for 2 though, and this could still be pretty huge. They have pretty big targets on the side of Team Project to be able to make sure that they can converge on who they need to, but Frog gets burned down almost instantly. Hero is there at the time and space to see if they can clear off the point, and they do, but the Hero uses the ultimate and it goes over the head. That's not going to be enough at all, but they still have the Immortal up, so maybe it wouldn't have been his value at the same time, even if he did hit it, and they used it almost instantly. They know what his plan was going to be, and still 36% to 7. They have to make their way back to point.
On the high ground. That's so brutal. And Frog a little bit ahead. This Vivian being double. How do you break through that? She has the deflector shield up. They have the nano shield in front of her right now. Hero has to go into touch on the objective right in front of him, but actually soaks that whole BK ult. But the rest of his team is just falling apart.
Man, they're still living though this entire time. They can't actually kill him. You can't be serious. Stop it right now. You can't be serious with the double kill with Ratatouille with the 2-0 once again. That's the second time that they've tried to dive him on a different map, and he just didn't die. You have to be absolutely ridiculous with this. Penguin already with another kill as well. 2 minutes and 21 seconds available as they've just captured the point, and they have another zone once again.
Look at this. Cuss doesn't realize he has to hold the Entropic Breach for a second longer. Penguin just covers him in those bombs, and Frog has to ult just to get back to spawn to avoid feeding them a little bit more credits. This by Prolific, I think, it just feels so practiced. It feels like they know exactly how to deal with what's going on the other side. The map control is phenomenal right now. Let's see how Project decided to break out with this. They don't have a comp for defending. They have a comp for pushing, so they have to make something happen. Hero almost finishes off the kill. He manages to run into the back line and turn Penguin around for quite a bit of time, but I don't know if they'll be able to get any kills out of it other than maybe voluntary.
they've drawn eyes towards them, and they at least get 2. But Vivian's free firing this whole time. They're just trying to dive into the back line. Whoever it was that Hero actually ended up diving into. Cuss is going to go down next. It's a quadra kill. Will it be the Penta? It's not going to be, because Yato takes it away from him. But even still, but well, I mean, he did, but
it
not,
wasn't on purpose.
but not intentionally. Yeah, not intentionally is how that ends up coming about, and that's unfortunate. But at the same time, they are playing very well. And I think that's why this is so exciting to watch. That's why I'm getting so excited to watch this, because they've been practicing together. They've been playing this, and they've been doing it well. They're trying to force another dive from the side of Team Project as well, and they actually managed to catch 2. That's going to be pretty huge, because it's still on point. They have to focus on the Fernando now, and that's where all eyes are being drawn, and they take care of him as well. But Volunberry and Ratatouille still find 1 apiece. He has to try and ult in. He's going to take care of him, and Ratatouille's going to go down. That's going to be a good enough ultimate from Frog. 40 seconds still remaining as the cart is rounding this corner. It's almost there. Can they make it back to where it was before?
You know, if Cuss had sneezed, that cap was in. If Cuss had not been paying attention for 1 second, that cap is literally over. Look at this dive from them, but they keep spending ultimates, I feel. Tough decisions by Project. They're spending ultimates to win these, despite last time, the Hexafire this time, and now the mid-fight that could be make or break and could potentially put them down 2-0. They're getting stuck out here. They're gonna have way less resources than Prolific have to use them.
Yeah, 8 seconds still remaining as well. They probably can't make it back to the cart, but they definitely can zone as best they can. But somebody's still mounted. Vivian's, is that Vivian? Vivian's still mounted on the side. She's at least able to touch to try get an overtime, but and they actually still they don't end up getting that at all. They still find 3 kills, and they use an ultimate 4. They have 64% available on the accursed arm, but even still, they have plenty of ultimates still up and available on the side of Team Project that can be very pivotal. But it's kind of hard to say that now that I'm looking at the other side. Having that Immortal, having that King Bomb, and Crossfire, that's going to be pretty huge if utilized properly.
Yeah, and way less resources for them. They had the Entropic Breach. They actually got the Spike back, so good play by Frog, doing enough damage to recharge that, but the dive tank, not having the ults for the dive tanks is going to hurt. I think Heroes actually had some pretty good Cataclysms to counter out what's been coming in from the side of Prolific. But it's not really been turning the game. I mean,
I agree.
Just to clarify, I'm not talking about the one he did on the top of the stairs. That was not a good Cataclysm. The other ones were fairly solid, though, for what they need, but it's not going to be enough of an engagement. Initial engagement instead is going to come from Prolific.
Here we go. The King Bomb rolls right on through. The Immortal gets utilized in case they try and counteract the King Bomb, but they keep themselves alive long enough, and that's going to be a full-on team wipe on the side of Team Prolific. And O is right, because, oh my goodness, I can't believe they just got team wiped once again. And here we are with Team Prolific getting on a good zone as well with 27% available to them. Can they make it back? But there's so many AoE abilities that Team Prolific have, it's kind of hard for them to make it all their mountain. And they pick 1.
That's rough. I mean, they have the touch guaranteed more or less. If Rum goes early enough, they might be able to do it. We'll see if he manages to make it. Cataclysm. He actually, he finishes off the kill on Penguin. He has the run in 2, so he will have the retouch. Might actually be able to finish off Genzi as they burn through, but he has to help Bunny. He's kind of baiting Bunny right now, playing on the backside, but he's too low to fight.
He already dashed in, and G-Bunny was the only one that was still on point. Hero ends up making it off of the site, and they take care of Cuss as well. This is it. Team Prolific with a 2-0 and a potential another game. Will it be another 4-0? I have absolutely no idea, but I mean, based off of how they're playing, what we're seeing, this could be pretty easy clap, I would say.
I don't know why Project banned Atlas, man. I don't know. I mean, I get why. I mean, Atlas is good. Atlas has great control. If they were looking to play the dive comp specifically, that's why you ban Atlas. Again, look at Michael, right? When you look at Michael play, they let Vivian through because they overpower her with the Roman Ruckus. It just looked like they weren't executing the way that they needed to. This other teams are able to counter out the Vivian with that use, but they just were not moving together, not following up, I think, on what Hero was doing enough to really make that work. And of course, sometimes he was just getting immediately slowed down. You have to spot a little bit before you're able to commit. But we saw sometimes, I mean, Bunny would go in, people would turn, and then the rest of the team is like walking to try to catch up, you know, or they're being stalled by one person, and they just can't cross that gap enough.
Yeah, and they just weren't able to. That's sort of different than how they started. How they started things off was definitely a little bit more unfortunate than we would have expected, because Hero goes straight to point. I don't know if that's that hidden Inara in him, if that's like the Inara that's in him with Rom, but especially with their composition, because he went straight to point. And by the time they tried to dive, it seemed like they were forcing to sort of cause like almost like a scramble sort of situation where they just ended up in its entirety eating more damage as they were forcing the engagement. because they were just waiting for too long. They were just stalling out too much. How that fight started in the very, very beginning, as soon as they made it to point, was that they were being looked at by too many people. They were out in the open. If anything, I would have imagined that they would have tried to go through apartments, see if they can force fights from there, just make sure that they draw eyes where they need to be, because we've seen that brought out on the Paladins Pro Circuit minor league that we have on Mondays, like Kresik was saying before, and be sure to check it out. But that was the divulsion.
Wow.
And I will say this.
Whoa, was that an ad? It just flew by me. I didn't even notice.
But one thing it is I will say is that when we've seen that composition be utilized before, dives are always hard. They always commit. They will go in, they don't back out, and they need to do it immediately, because you don't want to give them an opportunity to look at the enemy team. And we see it right there. The slash lines, once again, being an absolute tribute. 26-5 on the Vivian once again, and still bringing out over 130,000 damage on the side of Vivian. That is huge. That is huge. And this folks, chat, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, this is why you get rid of her. You have a good enough composition and a good enough team to be able to deliver things out for them. This is what you have when you have a Vivian that doesn't get looked at. This is exactly what happens, and this is why you need to be scared.
I just want to remind you that that draft was supposed to counter Vivian.
Yeah, it was.
It didn't work as well as they wanted it to. I think they just had the great answers in the counter draft. I think having the Tyra and the Bomb King specifically for that stacked up damage really shredded into that for sure. I mean, we've seen the draft that Project have played at this level of play counter what Prolific have brought out. It's just about I think having the follow up and the different flankers that Michael have played when they play this draft. When they have the Eevee, they have that quick follow up. The ones who don't have to move necessarily through anyone, they can just choose to ignore them instead. They've been able to burn through and instantly delete Vivians that try to be protected. Again, we've seen it work before.
We have.
Just those are teams that have practiced those kind of drafts a little bit more.
And the reason why they brought up that draft as well is because of the fact that they believe that Vivian's, not they believe, but a lot of the players seem to be common consensus that Vivian gets countered by really, really hard dive. That is a composition that we've seen be brought out specifically against Vivians as well, in any sort of backliners as well. Like, that's true. That's a lot of aggression. That's a lot that they have to sort of deal with as well, and that's just so powerful, because it's a really, really hard time for Vivian to do the damage that she needs to when she's being looked at by too many people. Like, that's the point. She sits back there and she fires. That's why I specify that when she's back there, that's the Vivian. That's the type of Vivian that you don't want in your games. The Vivian that's not being looked at. You need to dive her. You need to put pressure on her, because that's why she goes absolutely bonkers when you have to, when she is just able to sit back there and free fire as much as she wants to, because she has cards that don't even consume ammo, almost like a ROM minigun in its own right.
Yeah, more or less. You're definitely seeing the value from that. I want to see them. I want to see them ban it this game. Fun. I want them to ban it. I really hope they ban it.
I really do. We didn't see them ban it the first game. Hopefully they ban it this go around.
God, I really hope so.
I hope so.
They better, because it seems to be something they're really struggling into, and they're going to need to get rid of it, I think, if they want to really succeed. But we can slide into the picks and bans for game number 3, which Project has chosen now that his loser's pick on game 3. It's going to be Ice Mines here for them. So we'll see how the picks and bans will go. As we'll see the initial pick, and okay.
There we go.
Yep. I would too. Again, I actually, you know what? I already do in all of my ranked games, every single one. I'm sure that, I mean, I'm doing it in Masters. I'm sure it's happening from Masters all the way down to Bronze. She is very impactful right now, and you got to get rid of her if you don't know how to deal with her.
Yeah, I entirely agree with that. I mean, and this is just not, I suppose, not being well versed on the Vivian matchup, if anything. And we have to see who the second ban is, and it's actually going to be Terminus. They're going to get rid of him on the side of Team Prolific. That's going to be a good look for them. One of the point presences, a very common point presence nowadays, being taken out of the draft. Talus is going to be taken care of on the side of Team Project. Still don't want to deal with him, which is in good taste. It's a good draft. There's a good ban for them to be able to try and get rid of. Same thing for the Atlas as well inside of Team Prolific.
Yeah, I think the double tank focus for Prolific, but I feel like they're not really targeting the tanks that. Unless they are. No, they are targeting the tanks that Project wants to play specifically for this map. I had the teams mixed up in my head. I'm like, Prolific ban Term Atlas, but Prolific don't play Term Atlas. I completely flipped in the old brain, but it's solid. They're targeting what Project might potentially want. Terminus also very good on Ice Mines, as we know. He's not as good when he gets surrounded, so when he can isolate one sight line, definitely a little bit more coming out of that. We'll see how Projects start. I mean, with 2 tanks banned, maybe they go for one that they might want instead. Maybe they aim for that priority, but Victor. So a target,
Okay.
they ban the 2 PCL top picks from the past. They take
Right.
the 3rd for themselves. And Prolific, again, I don't really like this style of draft against a console team because there's more to play. They just lost to a Tyra.
Right.
There's Leon, there's Andro, there's Koga. There's a ton of hit scans that you can play that are still playable in the meta, and they're potentially giving up Corvus Genos to Prolific.
We'll have to see if they respond with a Corvus or a Genos, but it seems like it's going to be a Nara, the very, very first pick on the side of Team Prolific. And there it is. There's the Corvus to be able to be locked in on the side of their supports for Team Prolific. Seems like they're trying to choose more things. This Team Project are going to lock in Bomb
I hope
King
so.
as well. And they're going to try and make sure they round things out with a Fernando for their first 3 picks. So they've got a good point presence and 2 amazing damage deals on the side of Team Prolific. But I agree. I mean, PCO last year, I mean, Victor Vivian, top picks. Talus, top pick and top ban. Like, you would see that a lot. And, oh my goodness, the Dredge? Okay.
It's Ice Mines. It's Ice Mines. Dredge is like a Cassie on Ice Mines. You expect to see him.
Okay, but I mean, you do expect to see him at this time, but I'm just so used to not seeing him. I'm like surprised at least almost every time I see him because I'm just still not as used to it to be able to see him being brought out. But it's always good to see him when he does show up. Dredge and Strix are going to be locked in on Ice Mines, and Ash and Grover are going to finish things off on the side of Team Project.
And normally I'd say, oh, 2 aggressive tanks, but they have a Grover. How are they going to get healed and get followed up on? But it's a small map. The Grover can do it from a pretty respectable distance. Doesn't necessarily have to be super committed to keep them alive. So he'll be able to keep them up. He'll have that extra bit of CC. He'll have that poke from window to window, so definitely adding a little bit into it. And Khan, the last pick for Team Prolific. So I think I like their comp. It's very defensive, and Archon is like the classic what you see to hold the lanes and poke, and Strix and Dredge could definitely do that. Someone in chat says, no point tank Lamau. Fernando with Aegis has a 4-second shield cooldown. If that isn't a point tank, I literally don't know what else is.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that either. I mean, Team Project definitely have a good amount of sustainability on their side, especially with the Grover. Ice Mines has a lot of those angles that can be choke points. So them being grouped up with a Grover, him healing through walls, means they have a lot of sustainability, even with that 4-second cooldown on Fernando's side. And seeing Khan again is also really great because we've seen him sort of fall from grace overall, but I think that's due to the resilience changes, but Khan's not dead, though.
Yeah, no, Khan is definitely still playable. I think anytime a character gets a nerf that hits the main playstyle, he's going to disappear for a little bit. He's going to go away, and then he's going to come back once people kind of figure it out. And I think teams are now willing to re-explore with Khan because his bully potential never went away. He can still poke, he can still walk you, he still has that shield, he can deploy and undeploy at any time. He's still invincible when he shouts. Like, that's resources he still has. He doesn't need that stun to do that job. It's just he's not going to be this monster that controls space just by existing and T-posing across the side of the map at him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've lived in a world without a stun Khan before being as effective. So him going back to Storm of Bullets, even with the changes, even with it being hit with a little bit of nerfs, still isn't enough to keep Khan out of the game. He's picked in good situations, and I feel like this is a good draft for them to be able to have him on the side of Team Prolific. With Resilience starts, though, that's already pretty good, and this is to be expected for Hurl Dredge, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Hurl Dredge. Some people say that you need to play Scuttle on this map. I don't think you do. I think Hurl Dredge is a little more flexible in the later stages. Also like seeing Merrymaker. I feel like it's the cleanest gun to utilize here, but
I agree.
some decent spam early. And when has this retreat, they're shielding right at him, but he can just back up, replace those shields and get away from him. And right now, they're doing this. They're chasing him down, yes, but they're surrendering the objective, wasting so much time against such a sustainy target.
There's been a lot of, and because of this, I mean, Rock can't even really peek. G-Bunny is there, but they're losing out on a lot of the trades. 39% already for Team Prolific, but they were able to at least sweep in and around them. This might be pretty huge. And here we go. Even Grover's getting a piece of the action. He moved around as well as Rock Monkey manages to get one pick. He also finds another 49 health for Rock, and they find another to make this fight more uneven for Team Prolific. Khan has to back off. Jay Genzi goes down as well. Very, very good flank from them as well. I mean, they forced him all the way back. They forced the Dredge away from everyone, and they drew eyes to them. They just ended up collapsing on whoever was in that high ground.
Project will maintain this control for now, and no real burst mobility from Prolific because they were playing that kind of stall people down style of play. But no damage actually to Rock. He was trying to fight into them. I think Rock might be flashbanged from how that went earlier, but it looks like it's worn off by now. But they dive in to Bull and Berry, who can teleport away. They have enemy window control, but all it's going to gain them so far is a pick on Genzi, but that might be enough.
Ooh, they find a lot of damage immediately into Rock Monkey, and now they've sort of put the shoe on the other foot. As a nice little double kill from Ratatouille means that they are now cemented in the numbers advantage for Team Prolific. Hero goes down next, and G-Bunny is going to be soon to follow that. Battle shouts his way into another kill as overtime is no longer a factor because Team Prolific have gained control on the point.
Giotto's POV. Snipers used to be a never-seen thing on this map, and now it's being played. And the counter almost working, but the speed, the Corvus plus tactical retreat speed gets Giotto away fast enough for them to keep this fight up, even with all the respawns from Project. Prolific still have this 1-0, but Project wants to engage.
Wall goes up, but so does the King Bomb. They manage to utilize it as best they can, but all they do is walk into the trap. You've activated their trap card, baby. G-Bunny has to shoulder bash his way all the way into the back line to escape that Corvus ultimate, and now everybody else is pretty much looking at him. All eyes on him, and he's going to go down. Unfortunate, and good battle shout for Ratatouille as well. Got hit with that King Bomb and made it out just long enough to make sure that the seismic crash can get utilized.
We'll see how Project manages to rehold this. I like the hard stack up top, and Banano up top, he can get the lineup from the Fireball, which could give him Brand or other things depending on his build. He does have Brand there, but look at that, they pull Frog. But Hero gives up high ground to try to contest him. Now Cuss is completely unprotected, has to drop down, and the heals are completely isolated from the rest of the team.
Yeah, Giotto already sees where his target will be, gets the Cripple Axe, but gets enough shots and you end up with a dead Grover. Starting two kills, already formed the flashbang as well, and moves directly into him. You got did dirty, my friend. As Frog is going to take out Giotto, they still lose more of their members as well. Unfortunate for Team Project as they have to back up. Team Prolific going to try and roll this one right on through. 1:10 still remaining.
Money actually caught without his dash, but manages to push forward past it. Peg will have to rely on the self-sustain of Dredge to keep himself going here, and it is going to be enough. The effective mark healing from putting down the teleport will keep him going. Stuck back here now with all the pressure being retaken. How much space can Giotto make? This duel by Penguin potentially. Oh my god, is he going to win?
Oh, no way.
He gets the trade! Oh my god, just enough to finish that off. It's not going to matter in the long run, but
yeah,
it's at least it's a moral victory, 100% for Penguin.
A good look for them. 35 seconds to remaining. They have the assert dominance. They've got Immortal. They've got Whirlwind. They have a lot of ultimates at their back to make sure that they can capitalize on the pushback. And if Team Prolific force anything, it might be a little bit too dangerous for them. But this is Ice Mine. You got long ways to travel here, my friend. You got to walk a long, long time before you make it back. Makan actually made it in uncontested and undismounted as well. They're actually going to be able to gain a lot of ground here, but Inara ate so much damage from that. A good Cripple Axe from Cuss is going to make sure that Inara eats plenty of bullets from Rock.
Right? Rock Monkey on this Victor doing some good damage from range, even off of the sticks here. But Prolific are taking a lot of ground. I think over here, kind of maintaining their health pretty well too, but finding some damage coming into Jig on the point. They have to keep him up, but I think there's too much blast AoE pressure in the top left for them to be able to do that.
You have a lot of damage being pumped out on the different targets of both Team Prolific and Project. But when the smoke clears, you take care of Genzi and you take care of Ratatouille. Now the kills are all coming up on the side of Team Project. All 5 ultimates online and ready. You got a 1-for-1 tie as well. And oh my goodness, I mean, that was really, really scary for Team Project. I mean, how do you adapt to a situation like this? I mean, you have to fight off of the back of G-Bunny. They won in the very beginning, so I think they can get an even better zone this time. Team Project just play and hold on a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think they have the ults to potentially make it work on the side of Project. I mean, looking at what they have some great engagement. They have the aggressive assert dominance. They have the King Bomb. They have the King Bomb and the Immortal combo to run in. That would be, I think, phenomenal if they can make that work. But they could just cover distance on the other side. Maybe they just end up running into Akan who just shouts it. They need to be able to find some space to make that work first, I think, before maybe doing that. Or just engage with it and then see what happens. Throw caution to the wind, Hail Mary. Maybe that'll be enough to make this work.
1-1 tie already as the fight is already broken out by Barn, who have the King Bomb as well. They're just biding their time for now. They use the King Bomb to roll right on in, but the wall is up. Seismic crash as well. Immortal goes through, and now they're focusing directly onto the Inara. They managed to get Genzi and good bombs from Frog, but Ratatouille ends up winning the trade on the side against G-Bunny. That's going to be pretty big, especially with how low that he is. Frog goes up, tries to see if he can take care of Ratatouille, but he ends up facing his back towards the Strix. Fallen Berry is there along with some of the others as Penguin takes care of Frog. 45% as well. This Corvus is pretty much keeping so many of his targets alive and healthy. So much healing coming out from this
Look at how
Corvus
fast
right
he
now.
heals. Look, just when he heals
Yep.
a marked target, specifically when he heals a marked target, he literally has it every second, more or less, and he can keep healing through walls, keeping everyone going. And Yado now taking this forward angle on the side, catching them out, but they know Rock's there. Rock's watching. Doesn't have the ult to spend, but actually G-Bunny will, so let's keep an eye on him. Coming in with this assert dominance. Potentially no overpower to counter him, but Hero goes for the touch instead, and this seems like it's going to be in for the backline.
7%, and the percentage is still rising. They do manage to get a kill onto Cuss Cutie, but still the assert dominance into the back line. They just take care of Frog. They manage to kinetic burst him away, but they just make their way in the barn and take care of him. Now G-Bunny is one of the only ones remaining along with the Fernando. Hero is there on point with his shield, but it gets cracked almost instantly. G-Bunny is the next one on the list. He tries to stall as well. Overtime is now all said and done. 99% to a point conversion for Team Prolific.
Team Prolific can make this work with no ultimates here, but they will charge them fast enough. This is the time they might want to do it, but see how this goes here. Both DPS actually kind of stacked on this high ground, so if they get Ratatouille and Yado up to this area up top, they actually might be able to completely deny DPS from helping Hero, but this wall will do that just enough. Pushes them all back and actually forces the ult out of Rock, but he's not following up, and Penguin just teleports away to avoid it.
Unlucky. Penguin actually gets healed back up almost instantly thanks to the Corvus, but they do take care of Yado, so that's going to be a pretty big pick for them. But already he has so much damage being pumped into Ash, as Rock Monkey just made his way around to try and help G-Bunny. That's not going to be enough. Puts out the teleporter once again, but they're at least able to trade things for Ratatouille, but Cuss is by himself against the Dredge as well, trying to make sure he can find those hits. They're pumping damage into him, but he's not really eating a lot of it. I mean, what much can you expect from a Grover from that close of a range? Maybe if he was trying to snipe him, it will do a lot more damage, but he's just going to end up walking away and getting healed back up thanks to the Corvus. They try and body block the Ash, but G-Bunny still goes down. They now gain control over the high ground.
Look at this angle control they have right now. Yado watching all the way down into effectively their spawn with no fall off. Thanks to the Strix, and Penguin just spamming the door. Cuss tries to go away, gets hit by one, then walks into the other, and then suddenly, boom, total map control. Gained by them from that poke. King Bomb, though, they want to actually stabilize, even while holding with a minute left. Here they come, but it's only going to do 1,200 damage. Frog can't even really blow up on anybody, and now he's stuck in the wide open, and Prolific capitalize.
There are a lot of people that were looking at him as soon as that King Bomb rolls right on through. 55 seconds still remaining. The clock is steadily winding down. Hero is being looked at by so many different people on Team Prolific, and they take care of him. They observe the next target, which is Rock Monkey, manages to get the shot on him as the Kraken gets utilized. Grabs G-Bunny to make sure that he can't shoulder bash his way out of the Kraken, and he eats that guaranteed damage provided by Dredge. They clean up the rest of the team, and they find themselves with 3 points.
I mean, they managed to make G-Bunny take a little bit of damage, but actually Bunny timed it perfectly. I mean, Bunny had the battering ram damage reduction up while the ult went off. That would have been way more damage if he hadn't, but they do still cancel it afterwards, showing why the Khan is still able to be this bully into some of these off tanks. And again, statistically, Prolific are just off the charts. Even with Rock Monkey being all the way up there with damage, I mean, look at these KDAs on the side of Prolific. Both the DPSs, 12-4, 10-3. Even Ratatouille, even Bolin Berry's 5-3 on this Corvus right now. Corvus does consistent damage, so it's easy for him to get kills at the end of the day, but that's still a lot for a Corvus that has to play awfully safe on Ice Mines.
Yeah, 3-1. Already being the score.
Look at this healing.
10 minutes Ice Mines as well. Oh my goodness, I did not see that before. Again,
that is absurd. He is tripling Grover healing on Frog Isle. I've never seen anything like it. And apparently he didn't see that Immortal coming potentially, but this Entropic Breach is going to catch them out completely pincered, but no one can follow up.
They get the stun, at least on the Inara, but Rock Monkey still goes down. Cuss Cutie is there, but they're just free firing directly into him. Yado notices him, takes him out of the game. G-Bunny is there, takes care of Penguin. At the same time, Hero's just going to get tossed up. That Fernando shield's going to get taken care of. At 31% to 27. The score already being 3-1. They have to wait for their teammates to come back, and Corvus still providing plenty of healing for his team.
I don't even know if they can make it back in. I mean, I'm just saying it right now. Look, Genji just walks at Frog. Both the tanks still respawning. They have Ash, they have Ando, but if they get dismounted, maybe not. But Barrage pushes them back. Hero comes by, but it might not be in time.
G-Bunny gets grabbed straight out of his dash, and they take care of Cuss once again. That's too big of a hurdle for them to climb, but Team Prolific are going to take this a 3-0 against Team Project.
Yeah, a great play by them, I think, by the end. The ultimate's perfect. The wall combined with the Entropic Breach completely catches them in at the end and lets them follow up. Even after the Seismic Crash gets countered, they just had the secondary follow-up, so I think it was just great by Prolific, even using their ultimates, even though they're not as good to engage, they still manage to trap in Project and execute.
I agree. And they were able to execute not only Team Project, but they were able to execute their plan almost flawlessly. That was very, very well played by them to be able to have the dredge. They were always in the position they need to be in. They were finding the picks that they needed to, and because of that, they were able to net themselves a win, and very convincingly throughout 3 games. A lot of them were very, very a heavy divide in between the score that Team Project had throughout that set. So kudos to Team Prolific, man, proving that they can fight with the best of them.
Yeah, definitely showing. I mean, their first week against Pickled Pepper, I believe, was a tough matchup for them. I would say I think Pickled Pepper just looked really strong. And Pickled Pepper continued to look really strong after the matchup we got to see earlier this week as well. But Prolific, I mean, we're showing they are doing it. They're catching up. Yep. They're playing, and I think we might just be seeing a straight-up flip-flop in North America. Honestly, the way that they're playing, all these teams coming in hungry, and they're showing that you can't really rest on your laurels and just let them go. Final check, by the way, on the healing, 138,000 for Ball and Berry in a 4-1, and 57k for Cuss. That is just an unreal disparity on a map where you're literally healing all the time. As Grover.
Yeah, that is huge. That is all I could say about that. You've already said it perfectly. I mean, 138,000 healing. First, you have the huge damage coming out from the Vivian. I almost called her the villain, but I guess that's pretty accurate, right, on the side of Team Prolific. So with that being the case, I mean, 138,000 healing from the Corvus, that's huge. I know I already said that, but that's just enormous to be able to, like you said, almost triple, well, literally tripling Cuss's healing in that map. That is insane. Like that
and
is what Corvus brings to the table.
And in my opinion, Ballin was also playing Corvus correctly, something that we're not really seeing from every player, the way that he was rotating the marks, but still healing the off-marked person just to keep that spread of healing. I think his coverage across the board was just perfect, showing how well you play and showing how grinding the game can give you this advantage moving forward. I think their drafts were solid all night, and I think Project really need to sit down and take a look at how they're drafting and how they want to play together, because they need to be peeling for each other. They need to be drafting a little bit more to the meta, a little bit more targeted, and then I think we might be able to see them resurging a little bit later in this phase.
I agree. I mean, they just have to be able to also make sure that in case Vivian does get let through, they have to take a little bit more time to study that matchup, because I feel like what we saw earlier today was not just Vivian being OP or Vivian being broken, whatever you want to call it, but more so that matchup being unstudied. They didn't know how to fight against that Vivian as effectively. The dive composition they had was not the most clean that we've seen that composition be brought out before. So a little bit more practice, and of course we could see Team Project back in the saddle, ready to fight against these guys again whenever they both clash heads.
Hey, Fawn.
What's up?
Want to see something crazy?
Sure.
North American standings. Snapping.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little pull back the curtain. Fawn actually can't see these yet. It takes him a second to see them from the production side, but I can see them snapping. Number 1, 2-0 with a 5 map differential. Right below them, Pickled Pepper, 2-0 with a 4 map differential, and then below them, Prolific, also in 3rd place right now, 1-1 with a 1 map differential, and then bottom 3, Sanguine, Flashpoint, Project. What in the world happened in the 2 months we didn't get the PPC? I mean, roster changes happened. Teams that really wanted to fight for it happened, and we are seeing these teams just performing excellently. They've already figured out the Radiant Stars meta, how they want to be playing it, and I have just been so impressed by these talented players that are bursting into this scene.
And that's what's insane, is that this is the type of stuff that you love to see. You love to see some highly contested regions, because flip the script, phase 1, look back at the PPC last time. This was not how the standings were. Sanguine was at the top. A lot of these teams, the bottom 3 were at the top. But now we have literally had a swap in how these teams have been playing. They've been bringing their A game, which means that this region is going to be highly contested. If they don't watch their backs, Team Project could end up being in last against some of very, very noticeable names.
And I do want to mention, because this is actually being talked about in chat a little bit before, Clown Fiesta did not play this week. Blame Prosper Logic. He slept in. He overslept when the game was meant to be played, and they didn't have a sub lined up ready, so Clown Fiesta did not play. But that means that we can take a look at the European standings as well. Definitely want to make sure all of those get seen by you guys. The only undefeated team in all of Europe right now is Yoinkers. 2-0 with a 4 map win-loss. It is a good name. We saw them doing really well on the Paladin Central streams as well. Interstellar in second place with the look how close this is.
Yeah.
It's one map difference for Interstellar. Clown Fiesta and Mixolozobe tied third and fourth,
Yeah.
and then Celestial below them with only a -2 map differential from them. I guess close win for them and a hard loss a little bit earlier. And the only team at 0-2 is Chroma Space, but even then, I think their games were still close. They were still, I think, doing well in what they had. Their roster, they have to adjust to maybe having Ovim back on support, but I think they have a lot of talent on their team. And I just turned off your webcam instead of turning off the standing, so hopefully that's fixed when I go back to it. Thank God that it is, because that would have been a rough one, me and the disembodied voice on the other side that I'm discussing with. But yeah, Europe so close, and I was thinking about that when we saw the Paladin Central. Even then, that was the contested region. But you can see the talent; it's so deep in Europe, but it's still all so contested near at the top. I honestly have no clue, even with Clown Fiesta, what team is going to be hovering around the top as this phase goes out for Europe.
Neither am I. I mean, this is not the type of play, or I should say the type of play, this is not what we expected just straight up from how last phase went. This is definitely different as well. Back to back to back, multiple times, we would see these teams be at the top uncontested.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are again in a different phase, new teams evidently, and even new players, and even new standings. Like,
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to fight for the top
standings.
spot.
If it was the old standings, we'd be having it. I'd love to have you explain that to me, because I don't know how I could justify that one.
Well, I mean, the only reason why I'm saying that is because it's like we could expect the same teams to be in the top 3 consistently. I mean, we saw it in the PPL before. A lot of those top 4 teams, whether they were not as sincere, whether they were ninjas in pajamas, regardless of who the top teams were, they always were at the top. They never really lowered below even the 3rd spot. So it's great to see hardcore Paladins gameplay like this. We love to see people really becoming even better, more suited for how this goes in its entirety.
Yeah. I'm excited to see all this new blood playing out here as we've known. I mean, I'm excited to see them as it goes on. Specifically, I want to see if the teams figure them out. You know, I want to see if the teams kind of actually adjust to this meta that they're pushing forward, adjust to the kind of all these controller teams that are moving up, mixing in this keyboard talent to have these really tough games to play. Even Sanguine, the team that we thought was the dominant controller team, struggling against the keyboard talent team that's at the top, and previously struggling against the controller talented team in Team Prolific in these past amateur leagues. So I want to see these teams at the top not be willing to sit there. I want to see them get hungry. I want to see them push and actually try to overtake these new teams that are looking so good.
Absolutely amazing games today. Even more amazing teams. Please, guys, we only had 2 sets today, but be sure that you guys tune in for the Paladins Pro Circuit Minor League that happens on Monday around 1 p.m. time Eastern if you're looking for some more awesome Paladins action.
Noon.
I'm super excited. Noon.
Noon for the PCML. Yes, the Paladin Central Minor League is at noon.
I'm getting my days all day.
Listen, man, quarantine. Yeah, it really be like that.
It really be affecting me. But at the same time, I love to be your host, love to be your caster. Kresnik here, me being Fawn. Thank you guys so much for watching the Paladins Pro Circuit community broadcast, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Bye, guys.